All right, on the buck stops here this evening, what explains a hardening? A hardening that has shown that the government has moved its position from one of cautious firmness to pretty much assertive aggression. Is it the pressure by the BJP? Is it the pressure of public opinion? Or is it a different set of calculations? Also, is this mixed messaging? Or has the UPA had a change of heart? And what about earlier perceptions of a disconnect between what the army was thinking and what the government was thinking? That's our main focus on the buck stops here tonight. Let's introduce our panel this evening. We're joined by General VP Malik, former army chief, joining us tonight. Also joining us from Mumbai tonight is Admiral Ramdas. He's of course been a former naval chief of India. Also joining us tonight, Abhishek Manu Singhvi, Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament and spokesperson of the Congress Party. Also joining us, Ravi Shankar Prasad, Rajya Sabha Member of Parliament, Deputy Leader of the BJP in the Rajya Sabha. With us in the studio, Leela Punappa, former Deputy National Security Advisor in the government. Also with us in the studio, Ashutosh Varshne, a Director with the India Initiative at Brown University and a contributing editor with the Indian Express. And later in the program, we'll be joined by a Pakistani musician as sports and cultural ties also get hit. Before I get the politicians in, just a quick word from you, General Malik. Till yesterday, there seemed to be a kind of disconnect between what we were hearing from the army, very strong statements from General Bikram Singh, and what we were hearing from the government. The government was on the one hand, of course, condemning what had happened, calling it inhumane, the mutilation of our soldiers, calling it unacceptable, but being extremely cautious. And it seemed as if the government and the army were talking in two voices. Today you have the Prime Minister, and I got a chance to talk to him at the Army Day celebrations, and we have the Prime Minister saying it cannot be business as usual. Do you think that we are finally seeing an alignment of what the government is saying, what the army is saying, and indeed what the opposition is saying as well?
Look, there is no doubt that the response till today from the government side had been quite lackluster. It was an important, this ghastly incident was creating havoc in the country. It's not only the army which was quite angry, and you saw the public agitation and the way the public was moving, and later on the opposition parties also joined. My feeling is that I think now the government has realized the sentiments of the people and the sentiments of the army, and the inputs that have come to them, they have now been included in the Pakistan policy. So it's not a question of they were on a different wicket altogether, but probably the government had not taken into account the army's feelings and also the public feelings, which probably have now been taken into account.
So, General Malik, you're saying that earlier you felt that the lackluster response reflected a disconnect between the Indian Army's sentiments and the Indian government's sentiments. That's pretty serious.
That is true. And not only that, I also have said earlier, and I want to restate that I also felt that the military inputs in the overall Pakistan policy, which is an important input, was not adequately factored in. You know, this is a dynamic situation which takes place. Last 2 years onwards, we have had more incidents on the LOC. We have had larger number of infiltration attempts. And we know that the Mujahideens and the Pakistan Army are working side by side along the LOC. There has been no response to 2611. All these things have been happening. And I think the security aspect along the line of control, counter-terrorism, that had not been factored adequately in our Pakistan policy.
All right, you're saying we're finally seeing a synchronicity. It is belated, but perhaps finally the Congress, the BJP as the main opposition, and indeed the army are finally on the same page, also underlining the need for military inputs in a Pakistan policy. Abhishek Singhvi, if you could shed some light on how do we read what seems to be not exactly a shift in position of the government, but certainly a difference. Till last week, your foreign minister, while condemning, of course, what had happened in very uncertain terms, was talking about the need for maturity, was talking about the need to de-escalate the tension, was saying that we must not let this spin out out of control. Till this morning, Congress leaders were calling Sushma Swaraj's statement on 10 Pakistani heads for one to be jingoistic, warning against jingoism. Today, we have seen a slew of measures from the same government, sending Pakistani players back home. At the very last moment, putting a visa agreement for senior citizens on hold. How do we read this? Is the government not able to make up its mind? Did it have a change of heart? What's going on?
Barkha, just allow me a couple of minutes at least. I don't agree at all with the use of the words disconnect or volte-face as is being used here and there. Indian foreign policy does not work in knee-jerk reactions or in basis of change within days or weeks. Now, it is true that in this age of 24/7 media, words assume importance. But the real work is done not at the level of words. The real work is done at the ground. And let me tell you that the moment this incident happened, a holistic slew of diplomatic, social, cultural, economic, political and other military measures wherever we think we can make price and cost highest for Pakistan would have and are going into operation.
Okay.
However, the language doesn't always have to match that, and the language also sometimes cannot match it because we can't discuss these things on television. But let me tell you also that these things require a calibrated response and results do show. Although the results are diffuse, they take some time and they don't happen in days or weeks. Just rewind to 26/11 for a second, Barkha. After a year of 26/11 and after 2 years of 26/11, the deniability of Pakistan on 26/11 in the weeks after that and the state now where there is virtual de facto admission, where they've suffered huge military cuts in aid from US. All this has happened because of Indian efforts. A lot of other Indian efforts which are more physical and concrete on the ground can't be talked about on television.
Okay.
But the point is that don't consider these things in the sense of a few days or weeks and don't only go by words, because I think the policy is hope for the best, talk of the positive, but be prepared for the worst. And that has worked. And Pakistan realizes that, and I think anybody who trifles with that understanding is doing so at its own peril.
Okay.
India's #1 news app just got even better. Download NDTV's new app, fully optimized for Retina display, full screen view, faster response time, and Sudoku. NDTV's new iPad app. Download now.